Hello friend, how are you? Welcome to Tripani Study Center. Today we are going to do the chapter of social science and highlighting each and every point of it. Let's see what is our topic today. Religious and social awakening in a colonial India. There is a most important chapter for all class students. And the first topic arrive here, society in the earlier 19th century. That is important. Society in the earlier 19th century. The Indian society, which you see in a 2012, in very different from the one in the first half of the 19th century. Two major social causing of prevented the societies as a progress. This were a lack of education and subordination of women. Many sections of their Indian society were graded and followed to the content of practice which were not in a keeping with the humanitarian value. That is important here. The next point here, lack of education. There is a lack of education in mean to majority of people in those days were illiterate. The majority of people in those days were illiterate. All over the world, education was in their hand of every small number of people. In India also education was limited to be handful of men belonging to the upper castes. And Brahmins in India has access to be a Vedas which were written in a Sanskrit. It was a language not only to them, and religious texts were also controlled by these people. So they interrupted them away to the benefited them. An expensive relatives and sacrifice and practice other birth is a death whereas outlined by is precisely his class. It was a mandatory for everyone to perform this ritual and there is a belief of a better life after death. Nobody could be questioned. Brahmins proceed because nobody know what was written in their script. That's important here. And similarly in Europe, the Bible was written in the Latin. It was a language of church and their priests interpreted their religious texts accordingly. And that why as a reaction Europe was a resonances and reformation movement about which you have read earlier in this book. Even ideas like liberty, equality, freedom and human rights were introduced in Europe by the various revolutions which took place there. You know that you already read the Renaissance and Reformation movement. There is Renaissance is important and also is the Reformations is a movement important. The next point is important also here. There is a most important. The position of women in the 19th century. The girl and women today have a better opportunity to be their development. And they have more freedom to study and work outside the home. However, was back in 19th century, the life was much harder to the majority of the women. That is important. There is a today, the girl, woman, better opportunity there is development. And they have a more freedom to study and work outside the home. But the back in the 19th century, the life was much harder for majority of women and contains social practice like a female infanticide, child marriage, sati pratha and polygamy were prevalent in some section of Indian society. Female infanticides or killing of a girl child was a very common practice in this period of time here. The girl who is a survivor is often married at a very young age, often men who were much older. Polygamy, a practice of a man having more than one wife, was accepted norms among many caste and religions. In some part of the country, sati pratha was a preside in which is the widow woman was compelled to burn herself on the funeral pyre of her husband. Those women who could escape the practice of sati had to live a very miserable life. Who there is the could be escape practice of the sati had to live a very miserable life. Women had no right to be property and they also had no access to education. Thus, in a general, women had a subordinate position in the society. The fear of the inverted and the loss of family honor was one of reason. The other reasons were dowry and the sharing of the ancestor property, which further restricted their status. It was evident that a contained practice and the superstitions were prevented India from progressing. As a reform were needed to be wearing a change as social and religious life of the people. Our next topic is the most important here, a desire to be changed, social, religious and awakening. This is an important topic here, a desire to be changed. What do you mean desire to change here? What do you think could be a reason that led to the awakening of the peoples against discrimination and inequality? There is a most important question here. What do you think could be a reason that led to the awakening of the peoples against discrimination and inequality? Reformers like Raja Ram Mohan Roy and Ishwar Chand Vidyasagar and Swami Dayanand Saraswati and Jyotibai Phule, Asar Ahmad Khan and Pandita Ramabai understood that ignorance and the backwardness in the society was responsible for the hindering its progress and development. And this realization is reinforced when they come in contact with the Europeans and found that life was very different in the other part of the world. You know that there is a most important thing here. There is the Raja Ram Mohan Roy, Ishwar Chand Vidyasagar, Swami Dayanand Saraswati, Jyotibai Phule, Sai Ahmad Khan and Pandita Ramabai. There is more understood here. Their development and progressive. This realization as a reinforced them to the come contact with the European and found that life was very different in other part of the world. When the British missionaries started to spreading Christianity, there is a satirized and questioned many of our social and religious practice here. Then many of their ideas were accepted by our reformers. The desire for reform in their society was so strong that these reformers was now ready to the face of challenges as well as resistance from the orthodox Indians, and they start to several movement to bearing out desirable changes in the society. That is important. This were made possible to the inheritance of people like Swami Dayanand Saraswati and Raja Ram Mohan Roy. They studied their religious scripture and realized there is a prevalent religious and social practice. According to them, society should be based on the concept of liberty and equality both for a man and woman, and this was possible. This were made possible by the Ignatians people like Swami Dayanand Saraswati and Raja Ram Mohan Roy. They study the religious scripture and realize there is a prevalent religious and social practice. According to them, society should be based on the concept of liberty and equality both for man and woman, and this was possible only by the spread of modern and scientific education, especially among the women. This movement come to be called social religious movement because the reformers left that no change is possible in a society without reforming their religion. We will read further to know why the education and privileges were to the able to buy only the upper class in society. That is important. The next year, the caste system. The caste system of 19th century, there is the most important effect here. Since the same time, Indian society had a caste system which was originally occupations based. There is a caste system. There is a occupational base, and over to period of time, interruptions of the religious texts by their upper caste and lack of access to religious scripture. by the lower caste is believed to be servile, supervisional practice and the name of religious. And this also result in the power we gain to the concentrated in the upper caste and exploitations of lower caste. That is important. Hindu society was based on a Varna system. The Hindu society based on a Varna system, that is a Varna here, Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya and Shudra. There is a Hindu society, there is a belief here for Varna. There are Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya and Shudra. According to this system, people were divided on the basis of their occupation. The people who were engaged in praying and worshipping the gods were categorized in the Brahmins. You know that the people who were engaged in the praying and worshipping the god were a category of their Brahmins. And those who were engaged in a war were called as Kshatriya. The word is only recognized there as Kshatris here. And those whose occupation was agriculture and trading were known as the Vaishya. And those who used to be serve the upper three wands were known as the Shudra. You know that Brahman is a prayer and worshipping, Kshatriya is only there participate in a war, and there is a Vaishya is a agriculture and trading. There is a work for the Vaishya. And Shudra here, there are three upper wands. There is give to the serve. There is a Shudra. And this caste system, which was purely based on occupation, had become a heredity. A person born in the particular caste could not be changed his caste even though their mind have changed their work. And this creates inequality in a society. It also leads to explorations of lower castes. Therefore, a caste system has become a major hindrance in the development of healthy, democratic and progressive society. The caste system had become a major hindrance in the development of healthy, democratic and progressive society. The many social religious reformers and organizations stepped forward to the fight against the social practice. Organizations such as Brahma Samaj and Aryan Samaj and Pradhana Samaj, Rama Krishna Mission and reform like Jyotibai Phule and Pandit Ramabai and Sri Narayan Guru, Priyas Vivekanand and Mahatma Gandhi and many others strongly protest against this rigidity. There is a protest is a main important person, and most reformer consider to the prevalent caste practice there is against the original spirit of the Vedas and other scripture. This consider there is caste system is a irrigation and unscientific here. They felt it was against the basic rules of humanity. The untiring and the relentless effort of the social reformer helped to people to become a more tolerant toward the each other. The next year, the prevalent religious practice here. The prevalent religious practice. Most of the social practice were done in the name of religion. Here, social reform had no meaning without religious reform. Our reformers were deeply rooted in India traditional and philosophy and had a sound knowledge of the scripture. They were able to blend positive Indian value with the Western idea and the principle of democracy and equality. On the basis of the understanding, they challenge there is a rigidity and supervisions as a practice in the religions. They cite their scripture to be so that the practice is prevalent during the 19th century and find no sanctions in them. The resistance and the religionists among them questioned the popular religious which was full of the superstitions and they exploited by the corrupt priest. That is important. The reformers want to society to concept the uh, rational and scientific approach. Rational and scientific approach here. And they also believed in a principle of human dignity and social equality of all women and men. The next here, the educational scenarios. The educational scenarios is important here. In the 19th century, many children, especially girls, were not sent to school on this period of time. Education was imparted in the traditional Pathshala, Madrasa, and Muscus and Gurukul. There is this question here imparted to traditional here, Pathshala, Madrasa, Muscus and Gurukul. Religious question was imparted to along with their subject like Sanskrit, grammar, arithmetics, religious and philosophy. There is a most important subject on this period time. Science and technology had no place in the curriculum. The many supremations is a belief resided in the society. In the content community, girls were not allowed to be educated on this period time. It was thought that educated women would be soon become a with them after marriage. But in the relatives, lack of education and awareness was the root causes of social and religious backwardness among the Indians. So it was important to promote a modern education. Also, so as a religious reformer, whether the Hindu, Muslim, Sikh and Parsis aimed to be spread the modern education. They believed that education was the most effective tool to be awaken and modernize our society. Social religious reformer of the 19th century. Many Indian thinkers and reformers come forward to the varying reforms in a society. According to them, society and religious were interlinked. There is society and religious were interlinked. Both need to be reformed to be achieve positive growth and development of the country. There is a both need to be reformed, both here society and religious. Reform to the achieve a positive growth and development of the country. Hence, our reformers took the initiatives of awakening their Indian masses. And some of these reformers founded organization to be spread their awareness about which you will be read now. The another major contribution of this reformer was it is their field of education. There is a first of all, there is a most important reformers here, Raja Ram Mohan Roy. Come see here. The next topic is most important here. A reformer, there is a Ram Mohan Roy. Raja Ram Mohan Roy, there is a most important here. The Raja Ram Mohan Roy was born in a Brahmin family of Bengal. There is born in a Brahmin family of Bengal. He know many a language and had a read and Quran, Bible, and the New Testament along with the Hindu scripture in the great depth. Liberal education exposed him to different culture and philosophies, and deep moved by their plight of their brother as a Vidhu, who had been forced to be a summit a sati. He was determined to be uproot his social practice, and this led him to challenge other unfair social and religious practice prevalent at the time. That is important. He founded is a Brahmo Samaj in 1828. Here see your picture the Raja Ram Mohan Roy. That is the most important here. He was the first person took a initiative to be challenge the practice of sati, and it has soon become his lifelong crusade. He has mobilized public opinion and cited the scripture to be sure that his practice had no sensation of Hindu religions. In the process, he faced the disapprobation and enmity of orthodox Hindus. In this effort of the support by the Governor General of India, Sir William Bentinck, a law was passed in 1829, making sati illegal and punishable. That is the most important. His effort he was supported by the Governor General of India, Sir Williams Battery, and a law was passed in 1829 and making sati pratha is illegal and punishable. He also made effort to be advocate with the remarriage and condemned a child marriage. There is most important here reformer. There is a sati illegal, remarriage, and child marriage. He represented a synthesis of Eastern and Western thought, and a thought is on the Vedas and Vedants and Upanishad. He also took up the best in all religions as he was a well versed in the scripture. He advocated their importance of Vedas in their reforming religions and upheld of the fundamental unity among the all religions. He held that as all the practical ascent texts of Hindu purchase their monotheism and worship one of the God. There is a monotheism mean here the work of one God and oppose the polytheism. Polytheism means here belief in more than one God. He was critical of the idols of worship and awareness of the meaningless ritual. He strongly advocated their learning of English language, literature, and scientific advancement and technology to be modernized India. He strongly educated the learn of English language, the literature, scientific advancement, and technology to modernize India. He maintained the English school in Calcutta at his own cost. There is the most important effort here. There is a maintenance of English school in Calcutta at his own cost. And subjects like mechanic, philosophy were also taught among their subject. A Vedanta college was opened in 1825. Raja Ram Mohan Roy is helped in there is opening of Hindu college in Calcutta for higher learning. That is important on this period time. The next year, Ishwar Chand Vidyasagar come and see their achievement. The next topic is the most important here. The next year, Ishwar Chand Vidyasagar. Ishwar Chand Vidyasagar, a great scholar and reformer. The great scholar and reformer Ishwar Chand Vidyasagar dedicated his entire life to be cause of social reform. The first Hindu-Vidya Remarriage Act was introduced in 1856, owing to his relentless efforts. He also protested against child marriage and campaigns against the polygamy. Thought he did not be concerned himself such with the religious, and questioned he was against all those who oppose the reform in the name of religions. There is a most important effort here, the Ishwar Chand Vidyasagar. And thought he was a Sanskrit scholar. His mind was open to the best in the Western thought. His mind was open to be a best and Western thought. His major contribution it is a field of education. There is a major contribution was it's a field of education, and he encouraged the study of a Sanskrit. There is a encourage of the study of the Sanskrit and Bengali literature. There is a most important encourage here. He also introduced there is a study of Western thought in a Sanskrit college to be inspire the Indians to be shake of their age-old belief and modernize their idea. He believed that the condition of their women could be improved only through their education. His effort in this direction were praiseworthy. He helped in the opening opportunity of 35 girl school in Bengal. There is the most important here, helped in opening here 35 girl school in Bengal. He was a champion of women as good education and the division of the non-Brahman students in a Sanskrit college was made possible through this effort. There is a most important effort here, Ishwar Chand Vidyasagar. The next year, Swami Dayanand Saraswati. Swami Dayanand Saraswati is the most important figure here and reformer. The Arya Samaj founded by the Swami Dayanand Saraswati in 1875. You know that there is a UPSC exam question here. Swami Dayanand, there is a Arya Samaj founded by the Swami Dayanand Saraswati in 1875 undertook their task of reforming Hindu religions in the North India. There is a Hindu religion in the North India. He considered Vedas to be infallible and the foundation of all knowledge. He rejected all those religious thoughts which were in a confessed with the Vedas. He believed that every person had to be right to have a direct access to a God. You know that? He believed that every person had to be right to have a direct access to be God. It started with the Suddhi movement. Suddhi movement to be bring back those Hindu who had to convert to Islam and Christianity. Satyaparth Prakash was the most important book. Satyarth Prakash is the most important book here. Here picture was Dayanand Saraswati. Swami Dayanand Saraswati, a picture on your screen. There is the most important reformer here. Arya Samaj advocated social reform and working to improve the condition of women. If the found untouchability and rigidity of the hereditary caste system and promoted to the social equality. The use of Hindu language in which he wrote and the perpetrator made his the idea accessible to the people of the northern India. Aryan Samaj also had a major role to play in the national movement as it is inculcated in the spirit of self-respect and self-reliance among the people. The role of Arya Samaj was considerable in a promoted to education among these masses. And some of Swami then as a follower later started a network of school and colleges. It's called DAB. DAB means Dayanand Alongus Vedic. There is a DAB found in area. In the country to import education who the best line without a compromising on the Vedic teaching. They encourage the teaching of their English and modern science along with the Sanskrit and Vedic education. There is important of here Arya Samaj, the Swami Dayanand Saraswati. Swami Dayanand Saraswati is the most important here. On their DAB is the diamond among Vedics. There is the most important colleges found in all over India. The next year, Ram Krishna Paramahans and Swami Vivekanand. There is the most important here. Ram Krishna Paramahans and Swami Vivekanand. Ram Krishna Paramahans is 1836 to the 1886. There is the most important period time here. The Ram Krishna Paramahans here, 1836 to 1886, highlighted the stability and unity of religions and aim to be lead of the spirit of life. He believed that as the different religions of the world are only different way to reach the same God. Swami Vivekanand, there is a 1863 to 1902, was the foremost reply there is here. The Swami Vivekanand asked here, there is most important, the history of the world is the history of a few men. The history of the world is the history of the few men who had a faith in himself. The faith called out of the divinity of within. You can do anything. You fail only when you do not stick sufficiently to the manifest infinity of power. As soon as the man or nation loses the faith in himself or itself, is a death come. Believe first in yourself and then a God. There is a ask here, Swami Vivekananda. Vivekananda was the first. The spiritual is the leader who is a thought behind religious reform. He felt that the Indian masses needed to a scholar as well as a spiritual knowledge to empower than to believe in the himself also. And Vivekananda established the Ram Krishna mission after the name of the Guru Ram Krishna Paramahansa. There is a Ram Krishna mission. There is a Guru of here Ram Krishna Paramahansa, and thought his speeches and the reading. He bowed out of an instant of the Hindu culture and religions. He believed in the spirit of Vedanta, the spirit of Vedanta and the spirit of unity and equality all religions. He laid stress on there is a removal of religious supremations and subcolonialism and the outdated social custom. He tried to remove caste, heredities, and untouchability on their society. He motivated the people to respect women, while there himself worked for the women as a unemployment and education. Vivekananda attached to the primary importance to be removal of ignorance among their people. Here show the two pictures. There is the most important first picture here, a Sri Ramakrishna Paramahansa. There is a Guru of Vivekananda. And second picture here show there is Vivekananda. The Swami Vivekananda is a second picture. There is a most important reformer on this period time. The next year, Sir Syed Ahmad Khan. Sir Syed Ahmad Khan, there is a most important reformer on this period time. Sir Syed Ahmad Khan believed that the religious and social life of Muslim could be improved only by the imbibing modern Western scientific and knowledge and culture. His the major concern was the removal of social and educational backwardness among the Muslim. He worked hard to raise their status of Muslim women. He was against the Parda system, androgamy, easier divorce, and the lack of education among the girl. Third, he was opposed by the orthodox or Muslim. He made a commendable effort in a promote the human educations. There is a promote of humans education, and he tried to interrupt the Quran in the light of reason, vision, and spoke out of against the fanaticism and ignorance. He also initiated a social reform, the upliftment of Muslim society. Throughout his earlier life, he has advocated the study of English language even against the opposition of the orthodox of Muslims. He considered that only a modern education could lead a Muslim to about to progress. He established an English school in Ghazipur, present day of Uttar Pradesh. There is a Ghazipur is the first school established. The represent of Uttar Pradesh in 1864. He studied the Mohammedan Anglo-Oriental College, means MAO, at the Aligarh in 1875, which later developed into the Aligarh Muslim University. There is a development here, Aligarh Muslim University. It is a provided education in the humanities and science through the English medium. He also established a scientific society for translating English book. He also published a journal spreading awareness among the Muslim to about the social reform, especially to about the modern education. He started the Muhammadan's educational conference for the spreading liberal idea among to the Muslim. The movement for the reform started by his now as the Aligarh movement, which proved to be an important step to about the social and political awakenings among the Muslim. On your screen, there is a most important reformer here, Sir Syed Ahmad Khan. There is a most important achievement on this period time for the 19th centuries. The next reformer here, Jyoti Roy Govinda Roy Phule. Jyoti Roy Govinda Roy Phule, there is a most important reformer on this period time. Jyoti Roy Govinda Roy Phule from the Maharashtra worked in the attempt to equal right for the peasant, means farmer and the lower caste. There are farmer and lower caste. He and his wife Savitri Bai Phule are most now for the effort to the educated women and the lower caste as well as the masses. He is the first educated his wife, after which both of them opened a school for a girl in India. In August 1849, took up the causes of the woman and started a girl as a school in a Pune. Pune means there is a present time Pune. In 1851, he is also remembered for his effort toward promoting to widows remarriage. In September 1873, Jyoti Roy, along with there is a follower, formed to Satya Sodhak Samaj. There is a Satya Sodhak Samaj, Society of Seekers and Truth, where their main objective of liberating the lower caste and protecting them from the exploitation and the atrocities. He was a popular known as a Jyoti Bai. That is the most important. On your screen, there is the most important two picture here. Jyoti Bai Phule and his wife Savitri Bai Phule. Jyoti Bai Phule and wife is a Savitri Bai Phule. There is the most important creatures on your screen. The next Justice of Mahadev Govinda Rande. There is the most important here. Justice of Mahadev Govinda Rande here. Justice Mahadev Govinda Rande is established a Pune Sarvajanik Sabha. There is a Pune Sarvajanik Sabha and there is a Prarathana Samaj. Prarathana Samaj in 1867 in Mumbai to bearing about the religious reformer. And if the South to be removed caste restriction, abolish of child marriage, the saving of widows' heads, their heavier cost of marriage and the other social function. Encourage the education of women and promote to with the remarriage, like a Brahmo Samaj. It advocates there is a worship of one God. It is a constituted all idolatries and the domination of their precisely is a caste religious matter. He introduced a vernacular language in the universities and curriculum which is a made higher education accessible to be India. He attempted to be reform the religions of traditional in the society and without destroying their social atmosphere of India as a rich cultural heritage. He was also a founding a member of Indian National Congress. There is a founding the member of Indian National Congress. There is a most important picture on your screen. There is Justice Mahadev Govind Rande. There is a most important here. The next year, Pandita Ramabai. Pandita Ramabai, there is the most important reformer here is the Maharashtra. In Maharashtra, Pandita Ramabai is a renovant, is a social reformer. And for there is a right of women and spoke against the practice of the child marriage. She promoted to girl education and started the Arya Mahila Samaj. There is the most important here, started here. Arya Mahila Samaj in 1881 in a Pune to improve the condition of women, especially child with her. In 1889, she established the Mukti Mission. There is a Mukti Mission. Is 1889. There is a Mukti Mission in a Pune. A refuge for a young with those who had been to the distracted and abused by their families. She also started the Sarda Sadan. Sarda Sadan, there is a most important fund which is provided to the housing and education and vocational training and medical service to be with those is orphans and the visually are challenged. And she also wrote many books. She wrote many books showing their hard life of women and included child brides and the child widows. The Pandita Ramabai is a Mukti mission is still active today. On your screen, the Pandita Ramabai, there is the most important thinkers on this period time. The next year, Annie Besant. Annie Besant is the most important reformer on this period time. Annie Besant was a member of Theosophical Society and come to India for the first time in 1893. This movement was led by the Westerner, who is the glory of Indian religious and philosophical tradition and encouraged vernacular language and the literacies were to be instilled a sense of pride in the India heritage and culture. It aroused the political awakening and helped to Indian recover their self-confidence and get a sense of pride in their own country. The society also pursued their universal brotherhood of man. It's made a immense or contributed toward there is a development of modern India and is based and become the president of the Theosophical Society in 1907. There is a 1907, the president of Theosophical Society. Vasan opened a college for the boy, the Central Hindu College at the Banaras, based on the theosophical principles, with the aim to build a new leadership for the India. The students study a religious text along with the modern science. The college became a part of new university, the Banaras Hindu University from 1917. There is a most important achievement for any Vasan. On your screen, the picture, the Annie Vasan. There is a most important thinkers on India. The next year, Muslim reform movement. There is important here, Muslim reform movement. A few movements were launched, which is the aim to spread to modern education and removing of social practice like the polygamy. The Mohammedans Liberation Society, Literacy Society of their Calcutta was founded by the Abdul Latif in 1863. You know that Mohammedan Literacy Society in Calcutta was founded by Abdul Latif in 1863. It was one of the earliest organizations that promoted to modern education among the upper and the middle class Muslim. It also played an important role in promoting Hindu-Muslim unity. And Satri Halla of the Bengal, there is a promoting here Hindu and Muslim unity. There is Sri Sari Atullah of the Bengal, leader of the Farazis movement in Bengal, and took up the causes of peasant. He also condemned this evil of the caste system among the Muslim. Your screen, the most important person here, Muhammad Iqbal. Muhammad Iqbal is the most important person on this period time. There were several other social religious movements, which is one way the others help to the national awakening there are Muslim. This is important. And Mirza Ghulam Ahmad had founded the Ahmadiyya movement in 1899. Under this is a movement, a number of schools and colleges were open all over the country. The imposes there is a universal and humanitarian character of Islam. There is a favor the unity among the Hindus and Muslim. One of the greatest poet of modern India, Muhammad Iqbal. The Muhammad Iqbal, there is the most important. Also here there is a 1876 to 1938. In place the philosophical of religious outlook of several generation through this the poetry. There is a Muhammad Iqbal. There is the most important poets in this period time here. The next year, the Akali Reform Movement. There is the most important here, the Akali Reform Movement. The formation of the two Singh Sabha at the Amritsar and Lahore in the 1870, as was the beginning of religious reform movement among the Sikh. There is a Akali Reform Movement, the Singh Sabha, the Amritsar, Lahore in 1870, and there is the beginning of religious reform movement among the Sikh. The setting of the Khalsa College in Amritsar in 1892 and helped it promote to the Gurumukhi, the Sikh learning and Punjabi literature. The college was set up with the help from to the British. In 1920, the Akali movement which arose in Punjab and started the cleansing of the management of the Gurdwaras and Sikh shrine. A powerful satyagraha in 1921 against the Mahants for the government to pass a new Gurdwara Act in 1925. With the aid of this is act and the directions, and they freed it to a scared place from to control and domination of a corrupt Mahants. The next year, reform movement among the Farsi. Reform movement among the Farsi. The here Naroji, Fardozi, and Dadabhai Naroji. There is important Naroji and Farozi and Dadabhai Naroji, SS Bengal CCA. And other began religious reform among the Parsi in Mumbai in the middle of 19th century. In 1851, they founded the Rehnuma Majdasan Sabha, or religious reform association, and they played an important role in the spread of education, especially among the girl. That is important. Here the founded the Rehnuma Majdasan, that is the Sabha and religious reform associated, and there is an important role for the spread of education, especially among the girl. And there also is a component that against the orthodox practice in the Farsi religion. In a course the time the Parsi become one of the most progressive section of Indian society. There is the most important on your screen, the most important person, Dadabhai Naroji. Dadabhai Naroji is the most important person at reform movement among the Farsi. The next topic is the most important here, impact of the reform movement on Indian society. You know that there is the most important topic here, impact of the reform movement on Indian society. The reform movement is able to be create a social religious consequence, and among there is Indians during to the 19th century. All this movement led to the stress on the rational understanding of social and religious ideas and encouraged a scientific and humanitarian outlook. The reformers felt that is a modern idea and culture could be a best embedded by the integrating them into the Indian culture stream. The introduction of the modern education and guided the Indian to about to the scientific and rational approach to be life. All the movement work to the improve the human's status and criticize the caste system, especially their practice of untouchability. You know that there is an important point here. The introduction of the modern education's guide to be Indian toward a scientific and rational approach to life. All the movement and work to improve the woman's status and utilize the caste system, especially the practice of untouchability. This movement look for a social unity and stable toward to the liberty, equality, and fraternity. There is the most important here, liberty, equality, and fraternity. That's important. The next point here, important was given to be introduction, especially human education. There is a important word here. Was a given to education, especially women's education. Some legal measures were introduced to be raise their status of women. For example, sati pratha and infanticide were declared of illegal. Sati pratha and infanticide, there is a illegal on our society on this period of time. With remarriage was made possible. Their law passed in 1856 and condition of widows improved. A law passed in 1872 and contained to the intercaste and intercommunal marriages. The marriageable age of girls was the raised to be 10 by law passed on 1860. And further, Sardar Act was passed in 1929 and preventing child marriage also. According to it, a girl below to the 14th and boy below to 18 cannot be married. The impact of the effort of this reformer was most evident in the national movement. A large number of women come out of the take part in the freedom struggle. The role of women like a Captain Lakshmi Saigal of Indian National Army. You know that the role of women like a Captain Lakshmi Saigal of Indian Army and Sarojini Naidu, Annie Besant, Arun Ali Salif Ali and many other was extremely important in the freedom struggle. Women now come out of the Pradha and took up the job. There is a most important achievement for the women in this period of time. The president as a effort of the reformer had an immense impact on society. The religious reform movements installed in their mind of Indian greater self-respect and self-confidence and pride in their country. And this reform movement helped many Indians to come to terms with the modern world. People become a more consequence and there is identity as an Indian. It was ultimately responsible for their united struggle against their British in the freedom movement of India. That is the most important achievement of in this time. In the 20th century, especially after 1999, the Indian national movement became a main propaganda of the social reform. Indian language was used to reach the masses, and they also use a novel, drama, short story, poetry, the press, and in the 1930th century, as it used to be cinema to spread their view. The movement promoted the feeling of self-confidence and self-respect, awareness, and pluralism, and thereby their development of feeling of national consequence. That is the most important achievement. There is self-confidence, self-respect, awareness. Do you remember reading about some of the novel and seeing him a film related to the independent movement? For a beginning, start making a list some such as a author this book and make a list of some film also. Also make a list some of song. Maybe this clue will help us इंसाफ की दौड़ पे बच्चों दिखाओ चल के ये देश है तुम्हारा नेता तुम ही हो कल के और वंदे मातरम and song of the Lata Mangeshkar in the same film. There is a most important moment on the film industries